So we might actually get our nap after all.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, Ryan's got this.
Yeah, you should. He does. If he drops the ball on me here, I'm gonna have to go to. Well, I got some stuff here, I guess. We'll see.
Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
All right, we're on the air. This is Ryan Dawson filling in for Mike Ribeiro. Got some big shoes to fill here on RBN. He is off personally preventing the hit squads from getting to Ghislaine Maxwell. I like to pronounce Glenn Ghislaine because that's basically what she was. This woman was dumber than a bucket of rocks. I've been saying that the entire time. You can go back and see my old Sean Atwood videos or beyond, where I told you how stupid both of them were. This Epstein was not some math genius or any of the spin they've tried to play. He was a cutout. They were there as part of an Israeli blackmailing ring. Now, Ghislaine's siblings are a little bit brighter. It helps to have the $1 billion backing. It's pretty hard to screw up, but she was, they keep calling her a socialite. That's code for spoiled brat. They paid enough money for her to get a piece of paper from school, but this woman is unbelievably stupid. I remember her comments to Maria Farmer going, Epstein's smart. He watches PBS. Well, I like PBS, but watching it doesn't make you smart or not. It's just you're watching TV. That's all it is. This lady was so stupid she wrapped her cell phone in tinfoil. I mean, actual Alex Jones tinfoil hat level weirdo. She wrapped her phone in tinfoil to avoid the police. Now, her official excuse when she was hiding out in the U.S., which is where I said she was. I said she was still in the Northeast because that's where her sugar daddies are. She has a husband too, by the way, secretly. Got married back September 23rd, 1993. A lot of them were doing that. The Epstein ring had girls marrying other girls to get them visas to stay in. And a lot of things they were doing was off script from what the Israelis wanted them to do, officially what they were doing. They had enough power and arrogance. They started doing things for their own amusement, just like drug dealers dipping into their own stash. These people were raping their own commodity in their eyes. I don't see people like that, but they did. And other than just using them for blackmail to spy on science and technology and to hoodwink the politicians, they were, of course, routinely raping underage women in daily massages 3 to 7 times a day. Epstein would get massaged and do this. So this has been her. She's foiled again because when the FBI and swatted her house at 3 in the morning, it's not really her house, but where she was hiding. First, she slammed the door and went to another room to try and avoid them. But her phone being wrapped in tinfoil is part of the reason why she didn't get bail. Not just because of the flight risk and all of that. It was because she wrapped her phone up, which means her excuse of, oh, I was just trying to hide from the press because my name's been dragged through the mud from Epstein, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't fly because the press is not going to NSA your phone like that. So the whole reason, we know this too, she tried to wrap her phone in tinfoil, which doesn't work, by the way, because she's such an idiot. She thought, oh, this will stop him from getting on my Bluetooth or whatever. I mean, just don't use a phone. If if you really don't want to go to prison and you're on the run like that, you should be using someone else's phone or whatever. But not the brightest crayon in the box. She's the only crayon in the box now, though. They got her wearing paper dresses so she can't hang herself with her clothing, and she's on a bed with no sheets so she can't hang herself with her sheets. I'm waiting for them to say Ghislaine Maxwell has been found dead, shot. Whoa. I heard Skype go off again. I hope I didn't go off air
That's
there
my
for a
other
second.
computer.
Oh, wait, it's okay. Something happened in the control room. They're gonna find her dead, like shot 27 times in the head. And they'll say, police say Ghislaine Maxwell found dead, 27 shots to the face. They're ruling it the most insane suicide they've ever seen. No, it's because of you guys, all of us, made such a fuss about Epstein's murder when the mega group hired out a prison inmate and then the mafia to kill her, which is exactly what they did. Choked him, choked him with the electrical wire that was already in the room, left 2 scars across the neck and broke bones, or fractured bones, excuse me. We know what went down. We know that Patrick Ho was also in the same prison who was there at MCC for laundering money to African dictators on behalf of Epstein and Ghislaine. How that all relates is a long story, but the quick and skinny of it is one of the byproducts of these ongoing conflicts, like the Mali War, which nobody covers, or the war in Yemen, etc., is unfortunately, aside from all the bloodshed and warfare and child soldiers, is that people turn to prostitution to survive, including kids. And it's really great for child procurement. If that is your business, which it is for them, and the Israeli state is professional at this, at human trafficking. It's from its inception how it was created with Haganah, Palmach, and the Berchog, bringing in the privileged class to get the privileged class dominant demographics. You notice I can't say the word because that's how privileged the class is. But when they wanted to annex land in Palestine, they had to move a bunch of them to Palestine from Poland and other areas, and they became professional not only in the arms smuggling but the people smuggling, which of course lends itself to smuggling in sex workers and every other form of slavery. And sex slavery and chattel slavery now after the Libyan war is great again in the Middle East and Africa, especially after Obama and Hillary toppled Libya, toppled a functional African government and replaced it with Al Qaeda. And now they're selling people. And one of the people that were bribing politicians of Chad and Uganda actually ended up in the same jail as Jeffrey Epstein because a couple of the multi-million-dollar bribes were rejected, which is almost unheard of. I mean, I don't think there's a more corrupt government on earth than Nigeria. If you can think of one, we can argue, but I don't think there is one. And then like number 2, 3, 4 on that list would also all be in Africa. But sometimes they straighten out and say no. I mean, there are parts of Nigeria like in the southeast where the Igbo live, that used to be Biafran, I guess, briefly, where it's more of a functional society and all, but the whole northern chunk where Boko Haram and all that, it is just a lawless cesspool. But it's very good for dictators and child trafficking, and the Israelis know that. And like Hillary Clinton, for example, got a lot of African prostitutes, I think it was in Sierra Leone, and passed them around her own Secret Service and bodyguards. Now, she's a closet lesbian. Gary Byrne confirmed that, and my mom's cousin actually witnessed that and was told that when his mother died and we were at the funeral. I got everything, all the dirt on the Clintons. Let me get that RBN number from the control room whenever that comes in. It's like 313 something. Sorry, guys.
800-313-9443. There you go, Ryan.
There you go. They just said it. I hope you guys could hear it. So can you guys text that to me so I can do that after all the breaks and stuff? I think I have some co-pilots here, Dan and I forget. I have some. I just talk so there's no dead air the whole time. I'm pretty good at filling off the room with hot air. I got some other stories. I want to stop on Epstein for a second. We'll circle back in a minute, but I got to talk about some of the craziness going on in California. We're also going to have to talk about Owen Benjamin and Patreon and reparations in North Carolina. But first, I got to say this because I'm afraid there's always a bigger story. I mean, this isn't as huge of a story as a giant international pedophilia rape ring like Ghislaine and Epstein. It's not as big as the Syrian war or anything, but this is a story that needs to be known, and it's in the papers right now, but I doubt it's in your three-letter networks. And it's something going on in California that, I mean, maybe the Unabomber could have predicted. Ted Kaczynski did say what would happen about the chemical lobotomies, when a whole third of your population's on Adderall and Ritalin and all that was bad enough. But now they've taken it a step further. A 16-year-old boy in juvenile detention was forced to take estrogen and has developed breast as a consequence. They took a 16-year-old child who they couldn't handle. He had too much testosterone, and they decided to inject him with estrogen daily so that he was more manageable. They messed around with his hormones and his brain to make him more feminine because that's what they wanted. A kid, he's a juvie for whatever, doesn't matter. You can't chemically alter a child. But the California law allows this. So it already started with the weirdo parents doing that to their quote unquote transgender kids, which is just a clever way of saying child abuse, where they're given hormone injections to their own children because they think boys should be girls and girls should be boys who look like boys look like girls, whatever the song was. But now kids that are in juvenile detention, which is there to supposed to correct them, right? And not, you don't physically alter someone's chemistry to change their behavior, but that's exactly what they want you to do. They've got all these, mostly boys, it's almost all young boys, on Adderall and Ritalin, and some of them are taking it on into their 20-year-old man still taking Adderall and Ritalin. And I would say, I'm not even gonna say 99%, I'm gonna say all of them don't need it. If you can't pay attention, okay, then you're just someone who can't pay attention. There's no drug for it. That stuff stunts your growth and has so many other bad consequences and side effects. Don't do it. The soy boys are in. You should avoid soy too, by the way. It is that here's another study that came out. This will disturb you to the core. Would you give a baby birth control pills? I mean, birth control pills prevent babies from being born, but we're not talking about birthday abortions like the weirdos in New York and Virginia try to do, like Ralph Northam, who supports birthday abortions. He also wants to topple Confederate statues. No, I'm talking about giving birth control pills to a baby. Would you do that? Do you think that would be safe? Give a little boy a birth control pill? That's what we want to talk about. How much estrogen is in soy? The soy milk. This could explain Portland and Seattle, by the way. You've had a whole generation of moms and stuff that were told, oh, the soy milk is more healthy. And, they don't want to use formula. And they know, of course, breast milk would be the best. Not always available for every mom, but, not everything works out the way you want. But do not supplement it with soy milk. At a, pound for pound ratio, what a baby is getting when they're taking this soy milk was the equivalent, and this is PhD studies, by the way. It is the equivalent of giving a baby 5 birth control pills a day. That's how much estrogen is in the soy and this milk. That will mess a kid up. I mean, and it has. And this could explain Antifa. Like Antifa, this generation of black-clad communist weirdos, they're all like androgynous looking and weird, right? This might be the great mystery, kind of like the mealworm parasites that hit the southeastern U.S. So many people had this parasite and was making them dumb. This could be why we have Portland or Asheville, is people jumped on the soy, and you had a whole generation of kids who were, as infants, were basically being fed birth control pills and the equivalent level of estrogen, and they end up as baristas in the Portland mob that go around and don't even have enough strength to break a window. They have to ally with Black Lives Matter Marxists to get someone else to skateboard a window down for them, so they can go steal Louis Vuitton and Nike because they're so anti-capitalism. Some chats came in. We've got Zen Rebel Diva says, hear about the CEO that was chopped up by his personal assistant. It seems the personal assistant stole about $100,000. The CEO found out about him but didn't turn him in. Put him on a payment plan, but the PA didn't want to pay him back, I guess. I have not heard that story, but chopped him up? That is bizarre. I was going over the Bruiser Brody murder. If anyone's interested in that, let me know. It is something up. They murdered him in Puerto Rico, and it's just now the truth of the story is starting to come out. He's a professional wrestler. Stabbings in Puerto Rico are so common, though. It's like, oh, someone caught a cold, or just whatever. We got the call-in number, by the way, is 800-313. I knew it was 313 something. My Skype window just disappeared. Yeah. 800-313-9443 if you want to call in with yours 2 cents. And I'm also I'm simulcasting this on YouTube so people can chime in through Entropy Chat if they like. I had not heard that story about the CEO. That is bizarre. I got a couple co-hosts, Dave and Steve. I know I'm chatting the air up, but you guys are welcome to chime in and take a breath. How's it going?
Yeah, it's nice to hear you, Ryan. Dave, yeah, we're here. We're ready to go. Hey, we were just talking, at least we're chatting back and forth on our system here. Dave and I were talking about, as far as the Epstein's madam, they're going to be a little more creative on this one here. Of course, they've made sure that she can't hang herself with paper sheets, but we were just talking back and forth on the chat here, and Dave thinks she'll be suicided by COVID, and I said, nah, that's not creative enough. I think she'll probably slip on a banana peel on the way to the chow hall and break her neck. It's not going to be your normal what you expect.
Well, you're both right.
I don't think she'll ever make it into a courtroom. I doubt it. I doubt she ever makes it into a courtroom.
She won't even go to the hearings. But if she slipped on a banana peel and broke her neck, they would say she died of COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a COVID.
No. She died with COVID. She died with COVID.
Yeah.
By the way,
they'll be creative on this one here.
Fudge the numbers. Have you seen this? Apparently, in Florida, I forgot the ratio, so I don't want to give the wrong number. I won't say it was 9 times as much or whatever, but whatever it was, they greatly exaggerated the number of cases of COVID-19. And
I'm down here in Florida, Ryan. So I can tell you, yes, 100%. It's been fudged. The number has been fudged greatly. I can prove that. I've got on the inside here in the medical field here, I can tell you, yes, they are fudging the numbers.
Man, and we all knew this. I mean, I live in a free country that didn't have lockdown, and you can't hear the caller. Oh, well, that's fine. You know what? Go to whatreallyhappened.com and watch the show over there. You'll be able to hear everything. I just got this YouTube going so people can chime in with their 2 cents on entropy. But you can go to whatreallyhappened.com. whatreallyhappened.com radio or RBN radio, and you can listen to the show. What the caller was saying is that they can verify or not the caller, up to somebody from RBN, but they live in Florida, and they verify in their medical field too. They can verify that COVID-19 numbers have been greatly fudged. Imagine my lack of shock. I think something Rivera would say, right? Imagine my lack of shock. They're lying about COVID-19 still. The whole thing is ridiculous. I mean, it's just, oh my gosh, you might get something that's basically the flu. We got a commercial break coming, and I will see you guys right after that. And you guys on YouTube will see another commercial.
Did you know that you can be tracked and traced when you're online? With identity theft and cybercrimes on the rise, your passwords, your identity, and even your physical location can be revealed to complete strangers. Would you like to surf the internet anonymously and not have to worry about these threats? Well, now you can by visiting patriotinternet.com. For about $2 per month, patriotinternet.com will conceal your IP address and your physical location, allowing you to browse the web, send emails, and instant message anonymously. patriotinternet.com will bypass filters, block sites, and keyword blocking. You can also bypass logging by your router and your ISP. With patriotinternet.com, there is no software to install and uses 128-bit encryption for your protection. When using wireless hotspots, patriotinternet.com shields your information from identity thieves and is compatible with Windows, Mac, and Linux. Protect your identity and your freedom with anonymous internet access from patriotinternet.com. Visit patriotinternet.com today.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight. Women and children alike.
And we are back. This is the What Really Happened show with temporary host, fill-in host sometimes. My name is Ryan Dawson, hailing out of Japan right now. Some of you know me already, some do not. I'm filling in for Mike Rivero for a couple days. I think I have it today and possibly on Monday too. We'll see. I've got a couple co-hosts, Wingman in here, Dave and Steve. And that song about Gaza gets me every time. I want to remind everybody that Robert Inlakesh, works for Press TV, has an awesome documentary about the West Bank. He went in and he met Ahmed Tamimi, the woman that slapped the Israeli soldier, and then not a woman, she was a child, teenager that slapped an Israeli soldier, by the way, they had earlier harassed her cousin who had a broken arm. There's an infamous picture online of a grown, fully armored God's chosen lunatic of the GCL choking a little boy with a broken arm and slamming his head into a rock. It is nasty over there, and that's what we're trying to stop. We're trying to stop this madness. But of course, if you oppose war and systematic racism, then you're a Nazi. So, which brings me to this story. You guys, did you hear about Nick Cannon?
No,
This guy.
no. What's the story on him?
Okay. So Nick Cannon, he basically went off like a black Hebrew Israelite, whatever the hell they call themselves, saying all this. He's just this unapologetic racist screed about whites, Jews, anybody without enough melanin. He had this weird theory that melanin makes soul and compassion. Melanin is just pigment. That's it. Just all it does is at best protect you from a sunburn. But yeah, he was talking to some hip hop, whatever, I don't know, Public Enemy or something like that. I don't know. I don't follow U.S. music so much anymore, and they were just saying all this blacktivist nonsense. But then he lost his job with Viacom. Now we all know that bashing on white people did not get him to lose his job. It's because he bashed on the privileged class that he lost his job, the same class that actually owns Viacom, which is something else he mentioned. And so now cancel culture is getting a little taste of cancel culture. Now, I think his racist remarks are, disagreeable, and his theory on melanin is frankly insane. But I don't think he should have been canceled. I think we desperately need to allow a discussion about race and let all the weirdos from the far left and the far right air their stupidities openly so that we can have a discussion rather than deplatforming, because canceling all these people is not resolving the conflict, right? Not allowing a discussion on these topics that are taboo for some reason is making it worse. Now, this happens to be a case for once the far left got canceled, but that's because they went after Zionists. Had they just bashed on whites, I mean, Don Lemon did that on CNN. I did a video about him doing that, and I got kicked off YouTube. But
which is funny because Don Lemon's partner is Lily White, Ryan.
Well,
he's bashing white
too.
people, but his bed partner is Lily White. Pretty funny there.
Right. Well, he thinks it's straight white males, so I guess it doesn't quite fit the category. I don't know. He's got a little bit of what they call it intersectionality, because he's in the victimhood Olympics. Apparently, being homosexual is some challenge. It's not. It's pretty much. There is no systemic racism. It's a crock. You look at Harvard. I'm not going to bore you with statistics and stuff, but like West Indies blacks are only about 10% of all blacks in the United States, but they're over half the blacks at Harvard. Over half. All come from one slithering niche, foreigners basically, that are benefiting from affirmative action and stuff. It's not helping African Americans, native born blacks at all.
You can say the same thing for Stanford too, Brian. Stanford, you could actually have total 100% enrollment from Asia, from China alone in Stanford, because they're so dang smart, intelligent. But we're talking about this diversity has gone off to the tipping side here, that you and I are being excluded. They've gone to diversity now versus the affirmative action and quota system here. So, the Supreme Court found that quotas and affirmative action was reverse discrimination is what it was. So the liberals got together and they kind of retooled it and repackaged it and came back and said, we'll call it now diversity. And that's all they ever did. They just renamed it diversity.
Well, now Asians, I think, have it the worst. They've got to score like 400 points higher than blacks and Puerto Ricans. I think 250 points more than whites. It's so silly. Like, the reason that East Asians do better on average is because there's a natural filter there. If you have a family coming over, they're bilingual, they had to do all these hoops just to be in the US at all. You can't just run across the border or something. You're talking about a certain strata of wealth, certain strata of intelligence, if they're coming from Japan or China or something like that, then rather than just being born in. But it's prejudice. Like my kids, who are, my wife is Asian, they'd have to do better than others, even though they could have the same merit. They're going to have to do better than anyone else to get into college in the U.S., which is why we don't live there. I hear the music coming, so I think we have another break, but we'll be back.
The Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
What would you say if I told you we have a new tool that will increase production and lower maintenance costs for your meat processing company? And it would pay for itself in just 6 weeks.
When pigs fly!
The new EaseOff Model EZ4 replaces old spring-style carcass droppers and is faster, safer, and more reliable. The EaseOff lowers or lifts 1,000 pounds to or from your rail automatically using our remote control.
Sounds expensive. Can I afford it?
Can you afford not to try the EaseOff? It installs fast with just 3 bolts in place of your current dropper. The effortless operation will reduce fatigue and injuries, speed up your line, eliminate downtime, and increase profit.
How can I order my EaseOff?
Go to easeoff.com, EAZEOFF.com, and hurry, because we are offering $200 off on the new EZ4 for a limited time. Easeoff.com. We make pigs fly. Cows, too. EaseOff LLC, Summersville, Missouri, 417-932-6419.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
Thanks, Patrick. It's Ryan Dawson filling in for Mike Rivero on the What Really Happened show. We were talking about affirmative action, which is just Jim Crow laws. That's all it is. You know, Martin Luther King said, "Let's be judged by merit, by one's character, rather than the color of one's skin." Well, nope, you're judged by the color of your skin. It's different standards for different categories based on biology, which is also known as, racism. And there's a really, really great series right now on Liberty Pen called Black Wisdom Matters. Black Wisdom Matters. It's free. It's on YouTube. It's Liberty Pen, and it's everyone from Thomas Sowell to Larry Elders to all, just the best. They're up there dismantling the myth of systemic racism and explaining how liberal policies, not racism, have decimated the Black community in the United States. Really hurt the poor in general, but especially. And then I have an article up on ANC Report about the myth of systemic racism. I encourage you guys to read that. We have Chris Edwards from the UK who has called in. He's one of my guys. And we've got, well, hold on, Chris. We got another caller from British Columbia. I think I saw that quick enough. Daniel, since you're calling from far away, you are on the air. What's on your mind?
Oh, hey, Ryan. I've been a huge fan of yours for a lot of years now, going back to 9/11 stuff. And Gene Rosen's pet sitting service, you know, the whole Sandy Hook hoax and the whole bit. I've seen some great videos of you with one was with your grandmother. I hope she's still with us. She's an amazing
She
sort of a
is
historical
91
record.
years
Yeah.
old.
I just wonder what she's thinking these days with all the stuff going on now. She must be shaking her head. What I wanted to talk about was go ahead.
I'll have her back on actually. Now I've never jumped on the Sandy Hook stuff. I'm not into that conspiracy at all. But
yeah, that's funny. Ehud Barak, I think he's the key. Just as long with Ghislaine there, I think he's another key factor. I mean, he was seen going into Epstein's apartment wearing a scarf to try and hide his face, and this is before COVID.
he had like a big woolly hat on too.
He's got Christopher Boleyn has a little blurb about him and his involvement on 9/11, probably possibly securing the nanothermite and other things like that. So I just think this is kind of like the last chance, this whole Epstein affair and Ghislaine Maxwell. I think it's the last chance for Americans to see how their nation has been usurped by a foreign power. Because beyond the sex slavery aspect of it, it was all about the bribery, about the honey trap. And if the media is not going to, you know, touch on it, it's up to the alternative media, you know, places like RBN.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's just, it
well,
just
sadly,
seems to me
the
like
alternative media is under full assault. There, I don't know, probably 24 prominent YouTubers were erased in the last couple of weeks, and myself included. I was kicked off of Patreon on the 2nd of July, and then they still try to charge all the Patreons. By the way, if you are a former Patreon of mine, make sure you cancel that payment on your credit card. Do not let them take your money. But yeah, you're right. It's these stories aren't covered in the press. They did a Netflix series, but it was all just on the sex underage aspect, and it didn't tie back to Israel at all, even though, like you said, Ehud Barak was not only filmed outside or, you know, photographed outside Epstein's rape mansion in New York. He's actually mentioned in the papers that Dershowitz tried to get unsealed because he was digging for info about himself. And Ehud Barak is in there, as is Les Wexner. And here's the shocking thing, because Ehud Barak, Moshe Katsav was president during when Barak was prime minister, and he got convicted and put in jail for rape. And of course, Barak's the one that hid guys like Ari Shur and George Steinberger, who had a pedophile ring in Brazil where they were raping 8 and 9-year-old little boys. They got caught because the Israeli consulate swimming pool was in the background of some of the smut photos they were selling online. So they were doing this on Israeli property, on government property. And then he just got shipped around like a Catholic priest, like, oh, we'll just move him from one area to another to hide his crimes. But he's not the only prime minister on the Epstein map. Another Ehud Olmert, who was a prime minister of Israel, who's also charged with sexual harassment, where he stuck his tongue in a woman's ear and pinned her up against the wall. These people, it's so pervasive over there, a place that didn't have laws against human trafficking until the 2000s, right? It's so pervasive and normal in Israel for people to engage in child molesting and rape and sexual harassment, that presidents and multiple prime ministers, they just can't keep their hands off of little kids. And it's worse than that, because they are abetting and financing international crime syndicates for these most heinous of crimes. Well, thanks for your call, Daniel. We got Chris. You want to add one more thing? Sorry, you haven't. I got another guy waiting.
Yeah, just Ehud Olmert was actually in 9/11 or in New York City on 9/11 and didn't admit it, and there was no fanfare. I just thought that when you said his name, it just sort of piqued my interest with that. Reminded me of that.
Yeah, he
story.
was. I mean, I can talk about 9/11 after the next commercial, because that's my bread and butter. But yeah, we all know how many how them were involved in September 11th. It goes way past just the infamous dancing Israelis. I mean, that is sort of the foot in the door to start talking about the rest of it. But it's not just 9/11. I mean, there's been a jointly conducted intelligence nexus between Israel and the United States since Iran-Contra at minimal. I would argue all the way back to the Kennedy assassination. I don't want to open that whole can of worms. All right, Chris Edwards from UK, you are also on. Sorry, thanks for your patience, bud, by the way.
Oh, that's okay. No, I was fine waiting. That was a good call as well. Yeah, I just wanted to bring up a story from the UK that's resurfaced this week about Russiagate again. I'm sure everyone thought it died of COVID a long time ago and was buried in the ground, but it's back.
I hope Russiagate becomes Clinton Gate. It's starting to, but it won't. She's not going to end up in a. They're too powerful, you know. But what's the story out of the UK?
It's going to. I think it's probably got a lot to do with Trump re-election because you know we've got forces here. Christopher Steele was the one who made the fake report and stuff, and that was part of. There was alleged interference in the election last year at the end of last year by Russia, but it was it seems like it's going to be oligarchs, Russian oligarchs, but not necessarily Putin people that supporting the Conservative Party.
Let me give some background on that for people, because a lot of Russian oligarchs, the ones that weren't thrown in prison, were self-exiled to places that didn't have extradition treaties like the UK. So Abramovich went there, Boris Berezovsky went there. He's now dead. He's the one that did the Litvinenko scandal and blah, blah, blah. And so a lot of these Russians, in scare quotes, have fled to either Israel or the United Kingdom. And they do the same play all the time. Oh, it's Putin conspiracy. No. Now, don't be a light switch brain. Like, Putin is guilty of plenty of things, and Russia is not the good guys. Don't play this, oh, if not A, then B stuff. But the Democrat conspiracy about hacking the election or Michael Flynn scandal. Michael Flynn was actually acting on behalf of Kushner, who was acting on behalf of Netanyahu. It's Israel Gate, not Russia Gate. But yeah, that is such a farce. They hate Russia because Russia won't go along with them in Syria. That's that. You know, Israel wants to topple Syria. They're now trying to start a war with Iran before the election. Did you hear where Israel attacked sites in Iran? Again, nuclear facilities. I mean, they're just begging to get Iran to pull the trigger so they can get America to go and annihilate them for them. It's nuts. We got a call. Chris, that's a good comment, by the way. We got a call from North Carolina. Yeah, you can, Mark, I hear you. We'll get you to you in a second. Go ahead, Chris.
Sorry, yeah, no, I just wanted to say what it entails. It's a double barrel. It's that Jeremy Corbyn had this leaflet that he'd got, and it turns out it was from Reddit. And apparently Russia put it on there, saying that the NHS is up for sale, basically with the US when we do our Brexit deal. And then also Russia have been accused of trying to hack Oxford, who are working on the COVID vaccine. So it's a double whammy this week of Russiagate. But I just want to point out why it's so important, why they're keeping this corpse alive, is because Julian Assange is still in Belmarsh prison, and that's part of the reason anyway. A lot of it's got to do with Trump, but they need this fake Russiagate story to keep Assange in. And there's still a fake story.
They blamed him for working with the Russians too. That's part of the WikiLeaks scandal.
But they blamed Julian Assange, but they said Paul Manafort went to visit Julian Assange in the embassy in the UK, which is a fake story, still up in The Guardian. And then also Roger Stone, who got his sentence commuted by Trump. He was on Hannity last week or this week, and he talked about Ray McGovern and Bill Binney and stuff. And it's complete garbage, but people need to watch that interview as well.
Can we get a movement to get Ray McGovern on the Tucker Carlson show?
Yes,
Like,
please. That's so important.
or
This could change so much. It can get on there.
could Rivero get Ray on this show? I mean, like, maybe I can get him on Monday. I agree. Like, everyone needs to hear. Ray McGovern has been, since Robert Perry passed away, Ray McGovern, who also works sometimes at Consortium News, the best on the truth about so-called Russiagate. And everyone should hear Ray McGovern. I think he's been on WRH probably in the past, but we'll see if we can get him again. Mark in North Carolina, you're probably going to run right up against the break, but you're on. You're still there.
Hey, look, I'm talking to a living legend. Okay, Libby stuff in YouTube. Okay, but anyway, Ryan, what I wanted to say is this: what's behind this stuff with Russia is a few things. One, a lot of these oligarchs, I hate to say it, a lot of them unfortunately were Jewish. Okay, like Khodorkovsky, well, he was half Jewish, but a bunch of the other ones, Bill Browder, and all that. So there's a hatred for them through the neocons, which I'd say about at least 50-60% of them are Jewish. Okay, so there's a hatred. There's also a hatred going back to Russia, going back to Trotsky and what Stalin did to Trotsky and all that, because a lot of these...
Which is the origin of the neocons, yeah.
Right, the neocons and the neoliberals, too, basically have their origins in Trotsky. And there's that hatred for Russia for that also. So that's what it is. Everybody anybody who follows this at all, 9/11, and at first I used to think it was all conspiracy theories until I started following it around. Just the dancing Israelis alone show you who were actually Mossad agents. They were confirmed Mossad agents. Shows you that this was Israel behind this, or at least certainly working with the U.S. government and probably with the Saudis also. I do believe the Saudis were involved also. This is a three-headed dragon. All right.
The head of that cell of the dancing Israelis is Paul Kersberg, who admitted, and it's in the FBI's report, unredacted in a footnote, that they were sent there by the Jewish Agency. The Jewish Agency was the precursor to the first Israeli government. They're also the same entity that did a deal, the Havara Agreement, with the Nazis to export European Jews to Palestine. The JA facilitated that whole thing, and they set up the Sunborn Institute and later the Mega Group, which brings us all the way back to Epstein. But yeah, when I said this is about Syria, I just meant their latest issue with, they got Iraq and they're getting Syria and they want Iran, but Syria is starting to win because of Russian support. Russia really foiled the deal on that. And so, whereas they got Iraq and Libya, it's, part of that plan that Richard Pearl wrote out that, General Clark is famous as saying they want to invade 7 different countries, right? They were going down the script. And you're right, the neocons have their origin as these former Trotskyite leftists that went to the Chicago School of Leon Strauss, and that first generation of neocons is almost entirely Zionist Jews, with the Wolfowitz and Pearl and Libby and Fromm and Ledeen and Doug Feith and so on. And so they feel a sense of ethnic loyalty to this state because the real religion, not Judaism, the real religion of the neocons is ethno-nationalism. It's just straight up racism with a halo. And they think that's their land and God gave it to them.
Let's not forget who released these scumbags. And that was, what's his name again? Zukov, Cherkov is the one who released it. Okay, so this is, that's what I would call him, but I didn't know whether you want me to say it over the radio or not.
I think you can say that. You can't say any other 4-letter adjectives, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's who was behind releasing these scumbags. So, and it's a shame.
He was one of them. Mark Grossman was another guy that was instrumental in getting them released, and Mark Grossman was actually overheard by Sibel Edmonds saying when the FBI was looking at 9/11 suspects, you got the head guy number 3, head of the State Department saying, we need to get these guys out of the country before they spill the beans. And he's referring to 9/11 suspects. Do you know who wrote about that first? Justin Raimondo, who passed away about a year and change ago, last June.
And that's the Epstein thing too. Okay, the Mossad is behind the whole Epstein business too. This is what I wondered if they're influencing foreign policy just on that, because half of our politicians are probably pedophiles, and I'm probably being conservative by saying half. It's probably more than that. So
Speaker, last
Quite
three
failed
speakers
and
of the House in a
controlled,
row, right? Dennis Hastert busted raping little boys.
Yeah.
They promote
Tippity iceberg.
compromise on purpose. They've been doing that since
Tippity
J. Edgar Hoover, when Lansky and Costello had the homosexual blackmail on him, banging Clyde Tolson and wearing his pump high heel shoes and stuff. I put a picture of that in Trump's Sinus Ball and Chain. And the original version that some people saw on Vimeo, I actually showed the photo of Hoover performing a certain, how can I say this on radio? He was
Bravo, Juliet.
He was licking a popsicle on the beach, and I ended up censoring that because it was so lewd, and I was like, I've proven here it is. And then now the new version is, I just put up a picture of him cross-dressing or something because I was like, yeah, nobody needed to see that. A lot of people complained. They're like, you could have just explained it. All right, we got another commercial. We'll be right back.
Constitution important to you? Are you worried about gun confiscation? You need to join us for free at gunconfiscation.com. At gunconfiscation.com, you will meet like-minded patriots, get the latest Second Amendment news, and find anything you need to prepare for gun confiscation. Visit gunconfiscation.com today. That's gunconfiscation.com. Which side are you on?
Talk Right, the conservative app offered by TalkStream Live that caters exclusively to the conservative talk radio community. Here you'll see only talk shows and podcasts from the conservative right, all the big broadcast names and online digital shows in one place. Talk Right makes it easy to find all your favorite conservative talkers with all the upscale features you come to expect from TalkStream Live. Keep up with the fast-paced political world. Download Talk Right today from Google Play or the App Store.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
After about a month of Extendovite, I don't know what it is about the circulation factor. I was able to increase the weight, increase the amount of sets I could do. It has to do with the oxygen getting to the blood. You should market this as an athletic performance. And I don't change anything about my diet or anything. I just thought, what the hell is in this stuff? This is amazing. Bilberry extract is got something called resveratrol in it, which is the same stuff that you get from red wine. It's also good for eyesight. And I was reading that the Royal Air Force during World War II would give their pilots bilberry jam so they could have better night vision stuff. This is amazing.
To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Welcome to What Really Happened Radio. Visit us online at whatreallyhappened.com. And now, set your eyes on the future and let's consider what really happened.
And we're back. This is Ryan Dawson filling in for Mike Rivero of the What Really Happened show, What Really Happened Radio on the RBN network. We have several callers coming in as well as some super chats. I'll get one of those from Live Free or Die Bear. The Bears are here. I guess the Owen Benjamin crowd's here. They say,
hey,
AKA
Ryan.
Nancy Pelosi Bear. Yes?
Before we get into that, all we have to do is look at these Mossad pedophile blackmail rings and all this, and that we always get the lowest common denominator in here. That's why our governments have been subverted and blackmailed and controlled. It's absolutely ridiculous, and we are doing good to shine the spotlight on it. And I want to thank you for being here and what really happened. You are always welcome here, Ryan, and I hope you can be here Monday. Stay safe out there, brother. I got a jet here. Steve will be with you for maybe about another half an hour, and have a great show. Thanks for being here, and good luck getting your Patreon sorted. If there's anything we can do to help you get that sorted, just let us know.
Oh, well, yeah, thanks for bringing that up too, and I appreciate those kind words. You know, I've been covering Epstein for 13 years, and I couldn't get anybody to listen at first because it was such an unbelievable story. It's like, oh, really? But no, that's exactly what was happening, and now the world is finding out.
Yep.
My Patreon is I was kicked off Patreon. They gave me 3 different reasons, you know, religious bigotry, racism, pornography. They threw every toss thing. I didn't do any of those things, by the way. I'm not alone. They're kicking everyone off all these platforms. If people want to help me out, and I'm really in the corner here, please go to ancreport.com/tips. That's where you can donate or sign up for a subscription. I've only gotten about 10 to 15% of people who used to be Patreon to come over and sign up because I can't just like mass email everybody. But if we don't get something by the end of August, I am gonna have to quit doing this and get a different job. So because I don't have PayPal,
we'll
I don't
find
have
a way to help you
Patreon.
there. Yeah, they keep
Maybe I can get
deplatforming, I guess.
a little.
All you have to do stand up, tell the truth, and then they're going to blame you for every other single thing in there. So anything we can do to help you, Ryan, just let us know. We're in this fight together, bro. So good luck with it and keep us posted.
I think I'll try to link to the site on what really happened after the show. Maybe it can sit on the top page for a little while. That would help a lot. I really appreciate it. I'm sure Mike would be cool with that.
Oh yeah,
okay,
he absolutely would. That's why we're glad you're here, because we were hoping you'd be able to come on and talk about that because we knew what happened with the Patreon, and I know this is really important. And everybody needs to realize we're all being deplatformed for speaking up and telling the truth, speaking truth to power. That's our crime. Being honest, man. That's bad.
Yeah, being honest. Talking about 9/11, Epstein, these kind of things will, they go after you. They go after you financially.
Absolutely.
It's financial terrorism. I got another
Yes, it
baby
is.
on the way. And I basically lost my income, and so I've been, I sell T-shirts and movies and stuff. Most people pirate the movies, it is a pain. It's very hard to make a living online. It's just up to Chad donors to pitch in. So we got one from Nancy Pelosi Bear, just says, I just wanted to ask if you could recommend a good video or article on the Iran-Contra affair. I would get the book by Terry Reid called Compromise, and also Robert Perry's book October Surprise. And right after this commercial, I've got some callers who've been waiting patiently, and I'm going to get to all of you. We're going to get to Tom and Peter and Mo and Dave, or Tom, Peter, and Mo. All right, see you after the break.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
After about a month of Extendovite, I don't know what it is about the circulation factor. I was able to increase the weight, increase the amount of sets I could do. It has to do with the oxygen getting to the blood. You should market this as an athletic performance. And I don't change anything about my diet or anything. I just thought, what the hell is in this stuff? This is amazing. Bilberry extract is got something called resveratrol in it, which is the same stuff that you get from red wine. It's also good for eyesight. And I was reading that the Royal Air Force during World War II would give their pilots bilberry jam so they could have better night vision stuff. This is amazing.
To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
listening to Republic Broadcasting Network because you can handle the truth.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
Mike Rivero is getting some R&R. This is Ryan Dawson, hailing out of Osaka, filling in temporarily. We have Tom in Florida, who's patiently been on the line. If you're still there, Tom, what's on your mind?
Yes, sir. Good day to you, Ryan. Yes,
Good
sir.
day.
I just want to say this. You guys are right. You cannot tell the truth when it comes to Zog, because the schmucks are basically kind of in control. We know that, but let's look at you're talking about Epstein. What about Weinstein? Look at the crap he's gotten away with. You got Einstein, Webstein, all these Steens getting away with all this nonsense. But
it's not a Presbyterian problem.
You got that right. But Ryan, here's
you know
here's
what
I really
though? Weinstein's in jail, and that actually ties into something another caller brought up earlier with Ehud Barat. Ehud Barat recommended to Weinstein to go to Black Cube to use Mossad agents to harass his rape victims, which he did, and it did not work. He ended up in prison. There's a really great photograph of Ghislaine and Weinstein and Epstein, all three of them, God's chosen lunatics, by the way. All three of them went to prison. Epstein's dead, Weinstein's in jail, and Maxwell's also in jail. Set to have trial July 12th if we can keep her alive that long.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, exactly. When it comes to that, though, these women wanted more money, so I guess he was going to kick out $19 million. I think they want $55 million, or they're not going to settle the case with all these women or something. All these schmuck lawyers, they want each woman to get millions of dollars. So I guess it's going to be in multiple hundred. I don't know how much Weinstein's got, but it's going to be in it's way
He's
more
a
than
billionaire, so I mean, they ought to. I hope he loses it all. I mean, that just Hollywood is so much worse than Weinstein. I mean, this is just the canary in the coal mine. The casting couch is real. A lot of people have tried to blow the whistle before. It's just finally. I mean, this is after. The thing is, this is after he's already raped countless numbers of women. Now he goes to prison, and of course he says, "I have COVID. I need a hospital bed." He can't hack it in jail. But a lot of people didn't think that was going to happen. They were so black-pilled, I guess is the cool kid terms. But I was like, no, he's going to prison, and he is. And I said, they're going to get Ghislaine, and they're going to get Sarah Kellen and Jean-Luc Brunel, too. You watch. They're all going to prison.
Well,
one good
Ryan,
thing about the Trump administration is their rape gangs rivals with the other one, and so they're arresting them.
Well, Ryan, I hope you're right. I hope that Comey and Clapper and all these other Brennan, they all ought to be in jail too. All these criminals, even Tortero, Hussein Obama should be in jail. But
yeah,
that's the reason I really wanted to call you, Ryan, is because we're hearing these Black Lives Matter, the Black Looters Matter, and all this Antifa, and George Soros is putting baseball bats in New York for these guys to grab on the bats to go beat up cops. If that ain't a Sal Lewinsky rules for radical ploy, I don't know what you call that. Baseball bats, bricks. Are you kidding me? Now,
well,
here's what I
what
want to talk
CNN
about,
had
Ryan.
reported, if CNN was reporting 9/11 nowadays in the woke culture, they would say it was mostly peaceful flights. As the way they say mostly peaceful protests.
Well, you remember, like all the homosexuals are control all these cable networks, except mainly Fox. You got the Mad Cow, looks like a Charlie horse, Mad Cow. You got that Cooper Pooper, and you got all these other freak shows, Don Lemon, the Lime, the Squeeze. I mean, this is all a squeeze job. But here's what I want to get to.
And
Ryan, I've been to Cuba.
Rachel
Listen,
Maddow.
I've been to Cuba. What's that?
Rachel Maddow as well. I was just adding on to the Poopers Scoopers.
Ryan,
yeah,
I just want to say one thing.
it's all about like diversity ornaments is what I call it. Look how diverse we are. You have one of every kind of sexual orientation, race, etc. It's just it's puke in a bucket,
Ryan,
man. It's because there's no substance behind it.
Ryan, you're gonna have other callers call in after this because I want to tell you about this. All these demon rat, the Bolsheviks want all these illegals to come here, but they're screaming about a Green New Deal. All these millions of people are coming here need to have cars because you cannot live in the United States without an automobile. You're having more emissions, more toilet paper. You have to have natural gas to heat the house. All these millions of people. So if they want a Green New Deal, why do they keep allowing millions of people to come in here? And by the way, in Cuba or any of these countries, Brazil, when they had the last slave ship hit in 1888, do you think any of those blacks have cars? All the blacks in America are crying and screaming. They got plenty of food in these supermarkets. They got automobiles to get into. They got houses, a good roof over their head, air conditioning. And all those third world countries I've been to, you don't have none of that, Ryan. There's no luxury.
Yeah,
None
anybody
of these
living in the
any
United
other country
States
has
is
that.
already privileged compared to the rest of the world. But thanks for your 2
What
cents.
about
We got
Africa?
Peter in Los Angeles. Sorry, I gotta get some of these other callers. Peter, what's on your mind?
Hey, Ryan. Listen, I just want to.
Or is it
start off
Louisiana
telling
or
you-
Los Angeles? Just says L.A.
Los
in
Angeles.
that thing.
Los Angeles, yeah. I've been listening. I've been a ANC subscriber for years. For all the people out there who don't know it, Ryan Dawson is absolutely fearless and has suffered because of it. But he is the world's expert on 911. He's a world expert on Weinstein and Epstein and that whole cabal that goes back to, Bronfman and everything else, and Cohen. But at any rate, Ryan, and I'm also a huge listener to Michael, but I wanted to suggest to you before we go any further that I've seen platforms like UNS and VDARE who have been deplatformed, but have skyrocketed in their viewership or listenership, and maybe you could write for them, Ryan. One of those, they're going up, and just a suggestion. But can
I'd
I
like
ask
to.
you?
Taki or Uns, hit me up.
Yeah, I would tell you would fit right in. Ryan, I wanted to talk to you about what you think the connection or the connections with the Antifa and Black Lives Matter with like Zionists and some of the people like not only Soros, but maybe even the people like the mega group, like Wexner. I want you to talk a little about Wexner, if you would. Wexner
Sure.
and Spielberg and Steinhardt, all those guys that I know you know about.
You got the map? It seems like you do.
I can
So for
virtually
those who
memorize
don't,
it, yeah.
go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry, Ryan. Go ahead.
Oh, I was saying, well, I did a map video. I've been sending them out physically. I just got a bunch of emails today. People finally got their maps. We had quite a delay because we had to get. I wanted somebody in America to send them, so we could avoid the international shipping from Japan, and they had to get a PO box to, avoid their return address because this cancel culture is so crazy in clown world right now. They didn't want to use their real address. I don't blame them. So they did a delay, but now the maps are out. Les Wexner is the key. There's a bunch of billionaires on my Epstein map. There's 25. I mean, there's not that many billionaires on Earth, and all of them are into this weird stuff. It lets you know how they get their money. But the central financial arm for the Israeli state, because they always outsource to organized crime, was their U.S. syndicate, which is called the Mega Group for the mega donors. The Spielberg, Steinhardt, Wexner, you start naming a lot of them, the Bronfmans, and the Nexium cult, who out of Canada, but they heavily influenced the U.S. and Canada through their massive purchasing power, their donation power. And we've all seen from Al Jazeera's expose on the lobby on how they bundle credit cards to get around campaign finance laws. Right. And these giant Israeli affinity groups, United Israel Appeal, United Jewish Appeal, all of which go under the Bronfman family, by the way, who are the chairmen of it. They are used as outfits to illegally have undue influence on politicians. And for more details on that, if you watch the film Trump's Sinus Ball and Chain, it goes over to the Kushner family, but near the end of that film, I give a lot of examples of white collar crime and this sort of revolving door of the Port Authority and AIPAC which runs a very similar operation to Mega, were all donated. The ADL and APAC and all of them are all floated by the Mega Group. The Mega is the backbone of all the other Israeli affinity groups. Now, APAC is the organizational face, and then you have layered under that the ADL and the SPLC. The SPLC is more like the buffer attack dog that can go and smear and slander people, and if they get sued, it doesn't go back to the ADL; it just lies on the SPLC. So they kind of buffer themselves through these layers of organizations. But the top of the pyramid, if you want a visual Illuminati style structure, is obviously the Israeli state, but in the Americas, it's the Mega Group. It is a clique of billionaires, and Soros is among these. What he did in Ukraine should have him jailed for the rest of his miserable life anyway. But they facilitated Jeffrey Epstein, all the Jeffrey Epsteins of the world. Jeffrey Epstein's the one that got caught. Wexner gave him a house. Yeah,
$77 million, right?
The biggest house in New York, a $77 million mansion, already equipped with cameras and a camera room. All right. Epstein didn't install that. Wexner did. Epstein installed one in Florida. He said, oh, somebody broke in, and he actually had the cops give him his first clock camera. You have to understand, back in the 90s, it wasn't like today, kids. Digital cameras and all were a new thing. They used to have to do the old tape recorder stuff. So when you hear us boomers and Gen X saying it's on tape, it doesn't mean tape, it just means recorded, but we still say taped because we used to record music on cassette tapes and we used to record movies on VHS tapes. I feel like sad I have to explain that, but there are people like, what's a tape? And I was like, oh, yeah, a long time ago. We used to record everything on film. We'll say it's on film. There's no film anymore either. It's all digital, but we keep the language is the same anyway. So Les Wexner is a multi-billionaire. He's also been charged for sexual harassment by his own employees, who was the financial wing of the Epstein ring. And he ran Victoria's Secret and LL Brands. And Victoria's Secret was a pipeline to the modeling universe. And another syndicate in there was MC2 or MC Squared, run by Jean-Luc Brunel, with a head office in Tel Aviv, by the way, that would get the child models. And they would do the same thing for Ralph Lauren and some of these weird black and white photos of like topless 12-year-olds and stuff. It's like, oh, it's art. It's perverts is what it is. And they plaster these in their stores, by the way. What's it called? I don't stupid names. My brother and his girlfriend worked for one of them as models, but Abercrombie and Finn or something like that, whatever. I'm not a brand conscious guy, but and I remember going in the store and seeing these weird photos. I'm like, she looks like a kid, like as she is. Well, they were using that as their ring got larger, more professional, to get the more lucrative children as hooks and lures to go fishing for their honeypots. So disgusting, but that wasn't enough. Epstein and Maxwell, before they got tiled in, before they figured out how to tap into this models pipeline, and with the collapse of the Soviet Union, greatly increased this because you had all these women from Ukraine and Latvia and stuff that were desperate for money. The currency has been depreciated, and but they would travel and troll the parks and the trailer parks and schools and get kids on. And one more point too, I want people to realize Ghislaine Maxwell started the Kit Kat Club, which was all women groups, right? Which is where she got these haughty-taughty art school principals, professors, etc., where they would recruit girls into these colleges and leverage them and say, oh yeah, we'll pay for your schooling and this and that. And of course they wouldn't. They just promised to, and to lure them on the leash and then say, oh, why don't you go work for this guy? And then, give a massage here or there and rape and win.
Ryan, if I can say, a lot of people don't know, for instance, that Israel, through a company called Numec, stole hundreds of pounds of weapons-grade uranium or plutonium. And one of the guys who was involved in that routine, another billionaire, was was Arnon Milchan, who was smuggling Krytons, the nuclear triggers, again, very much against the law, along with Bibi Netanyahu. And he admitted it in interviews. And could you tell people about that and why has that guy never been prosecuted?
Arnon Milchan was Israel's largest arms dealer. He's also the producer for Oliver Stone's JFK movie that blamed everything on, not on the right group. They're like, oh, the CIA was mad about the Bay of Pigs. That's why they killed Kennedy. Which is almost as dumb as the Alex Jones Executive Order 1110. Kennedy was anti-Fed, blah, blah, blah. He was not. The Israelis killed both Kennedys. I'll get into that story later. But Arnon Milchan was smuggling Krytron triggers, among other things. Zalman Shapiro and the rest of them had this syndicate smuggling uranium, but that was just really just continuing large arms smuggling from guys like Hank Greenspun and Lowenthal, etc. I've had some good interviews about it with Grant Smith. I'm actually making a movie about NUMEC, but on the receiving side, the Krytron triggers went through Heli Trading Company and were picked up in Israel by Netanyahu himself, who is a two-time prime minister and longest reigning prime minister of Israel. So they were emboldened to steal nukes because prior to stealing nukes, they'd stolen so many other weapons, including airplanes, machine guns, etc. And nobody ever prosecuted them. And they even, this is the most disgusting thing, they laundered money through a Holocaust charity. How sick is that? It's a charity for Holocaust victims, and they were using it to smuggle weapons to steal land from Palestinians.
One of the people involved in the smuggling or in the late 40s, smuggling stuff to Israel during the, quote, War of Independence and afterwards, was Jack Ruby. A lot of people don't know that. So
Jack Ruby
was
and
involved in the smuggling.
held up with, he used to go pick up Traficante in Miami and Cuba and ride in there with George White of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics. And they were pals with David Ferry, who trained Barry Seal and so on. So it goes on right up to today. I actually have a movie about NUMEC that is in the middle of being made. That's getting kicked off Patreon and everything else really threw a monkey wrench into my day. But the guys in there, Henry Monter, David Ben-Gurion, of course, who was the chairman of the JA and then later became the first prime minister of Israel. You had Teddy Kulik, Yehud Azarai, Leonard Wiseman, Sam Salone, Elliot Schlatt, Reuben Daphne, Sammy Kay, Meyer Lansky, Albert Anastasia, Abner Zwillman, and then Mickey Cohen, Mo Dallas. A lot of these guys are either Jewish gangsters or part of the Jewish agency in Israel, and or wealthy, prominent C&M on the other side. And we're gonna do a long, awesome documentary on the whole thing. Can't say the release date because it keeps throwing junk my way, but soon we'll have the NUMEC film. I gotta let you go. I have Mo waiting patiently from Florida. If you're still there, Mo, chime in. Tell me what's on your mind.
Hey, Ryan, you got time for me?
I hope so. I got another 40 minutes. So
I can't believe you're doing the show tonight. I follow you all the time. I've been at this. Well, I'm a lot older than you, put it that way, but I'm very impressed at how young you are and your knowledge and your fearlessness, like the other caller said. So I don't usually compliment people. I don't like that.
I'm just young looking.
You're damn good at it. You're really smart. I mean, I can't believe it. You tied a lot of knots together. One thing you're talking about Wexler. Does it sound a lot like Lex Luthor?
Yeah.
Lex Wexner. Why is that? Sounds a lot like it. But anyways, I guess I think the whole thing is. I know you're probably aware of this.
Weinstein was a lot like the Kingpin from Daredevil, if you think about it. But it's a Marvel character called the Kingpin, and
I don't know. I never followed too much comics.
I'll just let the comic book nerds will back me up on this. Some of the plots
this is a generation
Daredevil
here, Ryan
does, some of the plots they do are based on real life crimes. Like, man, they had an inside thing. Hollywood does this a lot where they show you a little preview of 9/11 before 9/11. They're like, what if, right? It's
Can
like
you hold me over?
They got to have that trophy. Yeah, I'll hold you over through the break.
All right, thanks, man.
Talking about predictive programming.
Yeah.
We'll be right back, guys. I got gals and liberals.
Did you know that you can be tracked and traced when you're online? With identity theft and cybercrimes on the rise, your passwords, your identity, and even your physical location can be revealed to complete strangers. Would you like to surf the internet anonymously and not have to worry about these threats? Well, now you can by visiting patriotinternet.com. For about $2 per month, patriotinternet.com will conceal your IP address and your physical location, allowing you to browse the web, send emails, and instant message anonymously. patriotinternet.com will bypass filters, block sites, and keyword blocking. You can also bypass logging by your router and your ISP. With patriotinternet.com, there is no software to install and uses 128-bit encryption for your protection. When using wireless hotspots, patriotinternet.com shields your information from identity thieves and is compatible with Windows, Mac, and Linux. Protect your identity and your freedom with anonymous internet access from patriotinternet.com. Visit patriotinternet.com today.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Some are maxed out all their credit cards. Some are working 2 jobs and living in cars. Minimum wage won't pay for a roof, won't pay for a drink. If you gotta have proof, just try it yourself, Mr. CEO. See how far $5.15 an hour will go. Take a part-time job at one of your stores. I bet you can't make it here anymore.
Yes, we're back on the What Really Happened show. I am privileged to be trusted enough by Mike Rivero to handle his show a couple times now and then a year. I've been known Mike since 2002, I think was my first article on WRH. And then he covered my twin brother's research on the Lost Colony. By the way, his book sold out on Amazon. He found the Lost Colony. So if you're interested in that story, we'll talk about that another day. We were talking about predictive programming, I think, right before we went to commercial break with Mo from Florida. Are you still on the line?
Yeah, Ryan, I appreciate you holding me over. I just, I know you got a show coming up, deal with Sean Atwood tomorrow, right?
Yes, tomorrow. I think it's like a 2 or something. I know it's at 3 a.m. here, and I believe 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. in London. And so I think that's
the first hour or something. He said.
I got the last hour. I have the first hour on brand new tube. So they're gonna do what they're gonna do is they're gonna start on Atwood's YouTube channel because it has like 480,000 subs, and they're gonna start talking about with the gloves on, and then I don't know if they're gonna do the last 2 hours, which I hope, or just the last hour on brand new tube, where it's not censored, and I don't have to sit here and police my language, and I'm gonna go ham. And I don't care if they ask me about Epstein, 9/11, whatever. I'll finally be able to say what I want to say that you can't say on YouTube. Like YouTube, I have found exactly where the barrier is, and I'm always like dancing on the barrier, right? And sometimes I cross it and I get kicked off. So I know what I can and cannot say. So this will be the first time ever. Hopefully a lot of people go in to BNT brand YouTube. I think Rivero should start a channel. They'd be willing to mirror all of his videos over there too. I know he's on YouTube, but like start a brand new YouTube channel because they're not going to censor you and they're not going to suppress your numbers, and that'd be a good thing to get on. So I will be on going hard as a mofo on these topics on brand new tube Saturday, probably I think 2 p.m. Eastern time, and figure that out wherever you live. Mountain time, coastal time, whatever. It'll all be listed tomorrow.
Freedom feels good, Ryan. I just a question
Yeah,
I
it
wanted
does.
to throw at you. Do I have time here?
Yeah, we got yes. we
Yeah,
got a little bit of time.
there's a couple of things I want to talk quickly about Putin, but before that, just an observation. I've been following this since Alex Jones started, and Bill Cooper and all that stuff. So I've heard it all, and you've really got a lot of this stuff together, and I'm very proud of you. But I want to ask you a question, just something that drives me crazy. I've got a neighbor, just a super nice guy, and he's a retired fire investigator, very smart guy. About 6 or 7 years ago, I showed him Building 7 imploding. This guy's a retired fire investigator. He had no answer for that and didn't even care. I don't know. I mean, isn't that all we need to know? There's no way Arabs planted those bombs months in advance. I called the other day and said the same thing. Is there anything else that really needs to be talked about as far as 9/11? Nobody can answer that. Why? What's the problem? I mean,
There's a lot of other things that need to be said, but that I think what gets a lot of people sort of initiated into truth of September 11th is watching Building 7 collapse within seconds. Or the Twin Towers themselves even. I mean, that's a lot of people just looking at that saying, you know what?
I agree, but
Yeah, 7 wasn't
didn't
hit
have
by a
anything
plane.
in it.
I know. They did let it burn for 8 hours though.
Yeah, we all. I mean, it's very frustrating, and I'm sorry because when I finally get talk to somebody like you, or Mike, or you kind of let it all out because people have this cognitive dissonance is
Well, the authorities
spread more
found
than,
a
the
van in
coronavirus.
the parking garage of the World Trade Center packed with bombs, and then arrested another van with traces of explosives and another one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you can't start talking about literal foreign agents caught with cars full of explosives and truck bombs, which is what they did in 1993, by the way, with the Ryder truck. That's a whole long story, but you can't get to that point because of Jonestown. Like they want you to argue endlessly about thermite or do weapons or the crap from loose change or whatever. They didn't get anything right other than the date. And other people are like, I don't care. I don't want to talk about it because they don't want to deal with that tar baby, right? So like they don't. There's like a cult in 9/11 that is like, no buildings are on fire, and they got all their talking points and stuff. And it's so toxic. And they're trying to do that with Epstein. They're like, oh, he's still alive and he's living in Israel. And Ghislaine's not really there because there's no mugshot, blah, blah. All the kooks are out, right? They put the disinformation out there to make you like a dog chasing its tail going nowhere so that you don't know who did 9/11, not just that it happened, but who did it. And they're doing the same thing with Epstein. We're going to get Eli and Al and Charles right after the break.
are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we have been building our online store. Well, we have been focusing on bringing you the best talk show host in the country. Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we also want our listeners to have products they can use every day and in times of emergency. We have added new products each week to our store. Your support of this network, plus products at the best prices, is a win-win situation. Check out our new store. Go to our website, republicbroadcasting.org, and click on the online store located at the top of our website. Together, we can continue to grow RBN and help our listeners prepare for the future. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and click on our online store or call us.
800-724-2719, extension 3. 800-724-2719, extension 3.
Extend your life with Extendovite, a 7-herb combination made from garlic, cayenne, bilberry, hawthorn, ginkgo biloba, valerian, and milk thistle. Each herb was chosen for their abilities to help improve irregular heartbeats, chest pain, lower cholesterol, as well as normalize blood pressure and clean and strengthen arteries, plus much, much more. Doctors have taken people off of some or all of their pills just because they believe their patients got better while taking Extendovite. Get the dependability of Extendovite. Just see how you feel in 6 months. A 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid is only $69.95 plus shipping and handling. Call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay. Unemployment getting worse.
This is Ryan Dawson filling in for Mike Rivera of the What Really Happened show. We got another caller from the great Tar Heel state of North Carolina. Eli, what's on your mind?
Yeah, it's amazing to me, Ryan, how you say you were on this Epstein case for 14 years, but yet one of your mediums on YouTube, the John Garipi public space medium, this was financed into existence by none other than Jeffrey Epstein. How do you feel about that? You know, knowing you have been nothing but a gatekeeper since 911 all along, I'd like to ask you, what
A gatekeeper on 911? How so?
What other casting couches are there? You know, you say this is not the only one. Oh, there's dozens of them. You're a gatekeeper, pal.
The most obvious thing is
been
Hollywood.
worth a damn dime. You've been drawing attention elsewhere for 911. You and David Duke are both guests on this Garipi show, financed by Epstein.
What? Hold on. What do you think happened on 911? Do you think missiles hit the Pentagon? Are you one of those?
Yeah,
he
it does. I
wasn't
want to
the
know what's
neocon.
motivating your
He wasn't the
absolute outrage.
neocon.
I've done more work on
Israelis were
9/11.
involved. They're
I've
not
forgotten
neocons.
more on 9/11 than you'll ever know. I want to know what you think about 9/11. You called in with your derpy, retarded comment. Tell me what happened.
What is your
You're saying I'm
website name?
gatekeeping. Here you are. You got the whole audience. Why
Anti-neocon.
don't you tell the world what happened that I'm
Anti-neocon.
gatekeeping and won't
You
let
want
people
to
know? Tell
include
everybody.
non-Jews into every single thing you do, and you're a fake and a phony. And I'll tell you right
Tell
to your
people
fat,
what you
ugly
think
face.
happened. What do you think happened?
How did 911 happen? Jews did it. That's how it happened. Not the Cheney like you started out saying. You fake.
Not the what?
You're a fake and a phony. And anybody who believes this guy or this Antifa Mike Rivera is
So
a
you
fool.
want to blame the Jews? Okay. Well, I'm the first
Yeah, I do.
person to put out the information about the Israeli state
Guess what? Guess what
and their
Webster
handing
is?
love
Guess
relationship
what
in 9/11
Epstein
and
is?
beyond.
Guess what Weinstein is? Oh.
Oh wow, they're all
eight.
Jewish. Can you not read between the
Yeah,
lines?
that's right.
If I ever said they weren't Jewish?
And you don't have the goddamn balls to say it.
No, you just get kicked off
Go
the
to
air
hell.
when you say that. I don't have the balls to say it. I have a
You're a little
T-shirt that
punk.
says boycott
I
Israel. I've been
watched you
kicked
your
off
whole
Teasley,
time
kicked off
on
YouTube, kicked off
911.
Vimeo,
You've been
kicked
doing
off
nothing but
Lively,
lying
kicked
the whole
off
time.
Streamlabs, kicked off Patreon. I've
Well,
lost
Lynn
so
would
much
crush
money
you like a
because I
damn
do
sponge.
name them. I've got movies about that certain event of World War II that you're not
Yeah,
allowed
you
to
got
talk
movies
about. I've interviewed.
probably
I got
financed
Guillermo
by
Rudolph coming
Epstein.
on next week. You can suck a dick. Next caller.
You're a punk.
Eat shit. Next caller. Hang up on this prick. Okay. And that guy wasn't from North Carolina. You can tell by his accent. He's just some weird ass pedophile mistletoe. Al in Canada.
Hey Ryan, how are you?
I'm all right.
That was crazy. You know, here's the
haters.
funny thing. I
It's just
stumbled.
somebody's like wanted to say the Jews. All right, we know the political Zionists are behind this, and they're all
Well,
Jewish. Why wouldn't they be? That's like being shocked that white supremacists are white. Like, well, yeah, that's
It's a
usually how it
religion,
goes.
right? It's a religion.
Yeah, I'm not.
It's based
it's a
upon
religion.
belief and it's nonsense. But
It is, but I would say their central identity is
I
more the
stumbled
Holocaust.
upon Mike Rivero through you, like years and years and years ago, right? And like, here's the thing. Like, I originally wanted to talk about Donald Trump deregulating, like the light bulb and like washers and dryers and stuff. But here's the thing with the Twin Towers, and it never gets talked about unless you, of course, go to architects and engineers for 9/11. Was they were just riddled with asbestos. And it just so happens a Jewish guy, Larry Silverstein, just happened to hold, the title on that stuff, right? And of course, as the future
He actually lost in
progresses,
court.
and it always
He
does,
wasn't so
it costs
lucky. He
more and
tried
more
to sue for
for
double
asbestos
damages, saying
abatement.
there was 2 separate terrorist attacks. They did not give him the money, so he did not get that. But as far as it being
Well, it was
insurance fraud for
demolition.
asbestos, no, they wanted to take down the Twin Towers in the Pentagon to kick off the war on terror, because you're talking about trillions of dollars in budgetary expenditures
war
to
on
replace
terror
the
is
Cold
really
War as their
making
go-to
sure
cash
that-
cow.
that the U.S. dollar is being used. That's what the whole war on terror was actually all about, making sure the U.S. dollar is being used for financial transactions around the world.
Yeah, I know the petrodollar hypothesis.
It's
I
the
disagree
Federal
with it.
Reserve System. I mean, who are the owners of that, Ryan? Do you know anyone? No one
Well,
does. We know
7
kind
of
of
the
who they
last
are,
8 Federal Reserve chairmen all belong to the same ethnic group.
except who? Powell? Is Powell
No,
Jewish?
Wagner. Powell wasn't in the Federal Reserve. He was Secretary of State.
So is Powell Jewish? Guys, I remember I asked Mike Rivero this a few
No.
months ago because I didn't
He
know.
wasn't
He said
chairman
he didn't
either.
know either.
Colin Powell was the head of the State Department. I'm
No,
talking about the
not
chairman of the Federal
Colin
Reserve.
Powell. Powell, Federal Reserve guy.
Oh, yeah. I don't know about if he
Well,
was
that's
or
what Mike said
wasn't.
because I was
Anyway,
kind of shocked when he
they're
was
always
first,
ideologically
he doesn't
Zionist.
have
It
a
doesn't
name
really
that
matter
we
what
would think is
biology is.
Jewish. Because I mean, let's face it, the the fact of the matter is, the Jewish folk do run everything. It's one big club, and we ain't in it. If there's such a thing as this Catholicism thing where you can be reincarnated, I want to be reincarnated Jewish. I want to know what that kind of privilege is like in today's society.
Well,
obviously, in the past, it wasn't very good because people were aware of what they've done.
it's a combination of the militant left and your Jewish supremacist, where because it's a minority, you can't criticize anything they do or you're a Nazi. And the thing is, you're not saying this is a teleological inevitable thing based on Jewish genealogy or something. This is a ideological thing based on brainwashing and religion and their own ideological supremacy. They wanted Palestine.
Just pure indoctrination.
They engage in ethnic nepotism. And so it's pretty easy to take over an industry, especially once you have the media, when you only hire each other. But their blatant racism isn't called out, and it ought to be. It's as plain as, I know it like the back of my hand. You can see it as the nose in your face, wherever the expression goes, that there is Jewish
Ryan,
nepotism. And every race has supremacists. But every other form of racial supremacy has a stigma associated to it. Like being a black supremacist, white supremacist is bad. But when you're a Jewish supremacist, you can get away with it, mainly because Holocaust. And that is something that I can't even start to describe because I'm simulcasting on YouTube. Maybe I'll turn that off. Actually, I'll turn that off. I'm going to turn that off right now so I can answer this better.
Ryan, do me a
It's
favor.
the Holocaust.
I sent you an email on your website about your donate page, and I just wanted to mention that because I was going to donate to you, but honestly, I haven't listened to you for a long time. Probably the last time I listened to you was when you had called up Mike Rivero, and someone else was like, I guess, they were doing what you're doing, and they hung up on you because they didn't agree with what you said. You know what I mean? Like, Jesus.
We're dealing
it was
with
kind of funny. And then Mike Rivero called in and said, "You just hung up. I can't believe you just hung up on Ryan Dawson."
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm used to getting canceled, so I got to let you go because I got a couple more callers and we're running out of time, and then I got super chats after that. So let me get those first. We had, let's see. Ben Bishop says, thanks for helping me out with ANC site, Ryan. Much appreciated. Trongo Godman Dam says, wish I could do more to help. Zen Rebel Diva says, here's the link to the CEO murder that was mentioned at the beginning of the show. And there's a link. Mandam says, Nick Cannon called his children 1/4 animals. Yeah, I know. That's disgusting. Brett for 25 says, keep up the awesome work, Ryan. Looking forward to crashing brand new tube again on Saturday with Sean Atwood. My Sweet Lord for 3 says, trying to do a shekel chat. They got through. Ryan, instead of fixing your hard drive, surely you just need to retrieve the data, buy a new SSD. They're more reliable. Well, it's not an issue of space. I need to get the info that's already on the hard drives. That's that. Jello Benzite says, just because I judge you, never watched your work, my bad. Yep, well, you should watch my work before you judge. Rob D says, cheers. Frosty the Bear says, sashimi fun. That's funny. Brett sends money and says for diapers. That's for the new baby. Thyra33 says, here's a donation. Thanks. And Spud McKenzie says, for Ryan being the first person to make me belly laugh against the fake North Carolina pedo weirdo on a Friday. Yeah. I get the haters coming in. They're like, why don't you just say it's the Jews? I don't say that because that's an oversimplistic and pretty much idiotic thing. Zionism is not the Jews. It is something, it's Jewish supremacists. And there's a huge difference between a Jewish supremacist and just someone that happens to be Jewish. All right. You're like, you can't, it's like you could zero in and be like, man, all these murders are done by men. I think like 90-something+% of murders are done by males, but 99.999% of men don't commit homicide. See, when you're looking at stats and saying, well, look at all this Jewish crime, you're like, yeah, and it's all done by less than 1/100% of all the Jews that exist. right? Almost all violent crime, white collar crime, etc., is done by a super duper minority within groups. So you can't then like hone in on that, ignore the other massive majority who aren't engaged in any of this and act like, oh, they just always act this way. That is just basic prejudice. We have Charles in St. Petersburg, if he's still there.
Ryan, how you doing?
I'm pretty tired, actually, but
Oh, sorry.
It's all good.
Yeah, the guy, the three callers or so ago is obviously a troll, and probably from Israel.
Probably
they
so.
have
Like
schools.
Zionists come in and want us to be like, it's all the Jews, and I'm like, man, okay.
Yeah.
Like, as
don't
if anybody couldn't watch my work and see what Zionists are doing. Most of the
beginning
neocons
to-
are Jewish, you know, most
Right.
of the communists are Jewish, but most of the Jews weren't neocons, and most of the Jews weren't commies. Like, they don't.
Not all.
it's
Not
like,
all.
It's not just not all. It's
I'm
just
beginning
like,
to like.
not like that.
I'm
Yeah.
beginning to like to listen to people like Israel Shamir, the Israeli dissidenter, Gilad Atzmon. Gilad Atzmon a few months ago was hinting at the ethnicity of the Antifa. Yeah, he was talking about the 1930s and Zvillman, Longy Zvillman, and some of the Jewish gangsters in New Jersey used to throw, according to him, used to throw excrement and piss on, just like Antifa does, on some of the German American Bund people that had there, you know, in New Jersey, and he said, "Isn't that interesting?" You know, he didn't
I actually have
didn't-
Gilad Osman is coming on the show next week. We're going to talk about, he did a response video to Alan Dershowitz. It's pretty good. I'm going to have him on the show. I got to get these two callers because it's my fault. I let everybody talk too long and I wasted time on a Rabbi Rick's
all right.
troll call. But we have Mir from Wisconsin.
Hi, Ryan.
Hello, or is it Mur?
Yeah, whatever. It's an
Yeah.
acronym, some initials.
Okay.
But yeah, when I heard, I wasn't going to call and bother you, but when I heard Rabid Rabbi Rick, that's what we call him. His name's Rick. He's from Florida, and he uses different names and different numbers, and he sounds real nice till you get him on air, and he starts getting rabid, and he's all about shaming and blaming as if he, you know, whatever. But it's so feel honored you got the troll. He's like a king troll. He goes all over the different networks and shows and stuff. But yesterday I had
He's a
called
loser.
and it just, huh?
He's a loser. Right. I'm
he
going to
is.
control. We're talking about very serious things about children being kidnapped and raped, and that
Yeah.
we're talking about, you know, starvation in Yemen, wars, etc. And he's like, I'm going to go in and push buttons just because they're hurt. I mean, it's a waste of my time and everyone else.
Selfish.
This
It's
isn't
all
like
it
a
is.
comedy show or something. This is, you know, go call in and go mess with, you know, Michael Savage or Bill Maher or
this is
something.
the
You know?
most this is the most important thing about the children, because so many
Mhm.
go missing, and it's not just sex. Believe me, you know, it's very brutal, and they do actual sacrifices and all this kind of stuff. But also you said Trafficante, and I just want to make sure people knew that wasn't Jim Trafficant.
No. We're talking about
I know, but you never
the
know.
Florida mob boss.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Jim Trafficant was Chad, probably murdered as well.
Oh yeah.
They
No,
jailed him
that,
for
that
talking about
scraper
Zog.
just jumped up, and that little scraper just jumped up in front of his tractor. Don't you know? Yeah, the guy that was there that day, his name was Andrew Thompson. He's from Mercer, Pennsylvania. He was the only one there.
Yeah,
And
Gary Webb.
Huh?
I said they Gary Webbed him. Yeah, he got
pretty
claimed.
much. You know, he didn't even want to have his name repeated, and it was only once in the press, so that's why I'm repeating it now, because he was in equipment business and was there to look at equipment. So while Jim's out in his tractor, it comes back, and suddenly that scraper's in the way. You know, but he called it in. But Jim had just started, you know, another party, and people were really interested in it. Well, not a party actually, but a, you know, political kind of uprising, and he's very popular for that because he's the only guy I ever heard about that went into Israel and rescued somebody, you know, and then sat in jail for 7 years. So, and it's pretty upstanding person there, fella. So, yeah.
We could talk about Mordecai Benunu too, but I'm not going to have time. I'm sorry, I got 2 more calls to get in.
Alrighty, thank
like
you.
5
Bye-bye.
minutes there, but thank you for your time and your comments. Ryan in San Diego. Got to be quick.
Ryan, what's happening, man?
Hey, man.
Ryan?
We're
What's
pressed
up,
for
man?
time, but
Hey, man,
I'm trying to
appreciate
get you and Robert.
Yeah, I'll try to be quick, man. Hey, appreciate your work, man, especially all the stuff you bring to light as far as Yemen and the Palestinians. Really good work, man. But
They really are voiceless people.
Yeah, I know. Crazy, right? Hey, man.
Yemen
what do
was
you
just
think
bombed
about,
today.
like,
A lot of children murdered again, and it's just not on any of the 3-letter networks.
this just has to do a little bit with like the George Floyd stuff. Do you think the Chi-Coms had anything to do with the instability? Because, you know, the main cop that put the knee on the neck, you know, his wife was Chinese, I believe, too, right?
I thought she was Taiwanese, but I don't know. She was Asian. She left him over it too. But no, I don't think this is a Chi-Com thing. I think this was just a Derek Chauvin thing that they personally knew each other because they worked at the same nightclub. George Floyd was a porn star. Derek Chauvin was a little come see, come saw, as The Rock would say. So there was some other personal business that we haven't been made aware of yet. It wasn't a racism thing. It was a Derek Chauvin, George Floyd thing. Plus, he had a lot of drugs in his system. But the media was just looking for some sort of race bait. They tried the Georgia thing, the Karen Birdwatcher thing. They were just like putting it out there until they could trigger an LA riot, Ferguson, Baltimore style event. They've been waiting for this. So this is a shitlib thing, as we'd say, if I can say that.
Do you think it's hit its climax before the election cycle, or do you think it'll die down afterwards or before?
Oh, it'll last as long as they need it to because they're manufacturing it. So they want to mail-in. They want mail-in votes because that's the only way Trump can lose. A lot of these loser millennials don't vote, but their parents can fill it in and mail it in for them. So that's what we're looking at. I gotta let you go. I gotta get the last caller in here. Robert from Tennessee.
How you doing today?
Not
Can
bad.
you
How
hear
are
me?
you? I hear you. You're on the
Okay,
air.
listen. Yeah, I was when I heard about the towers that were hit, or supposedly, you know, I was watching TV and there was a newscaster talking about building number 7 fell, and I'm looking, and you know that building was still standing. It came down 22 minutes later.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that?
Several different networks did that. Jane Stanley did that on BBC, and I believe Fox and CBS did the same thing. What happened was actually the very first report was at 10:45 in the morning. They said a 50-story building had fallen, so they really jumped the script by 5 hours or so, or 7 hours or so. And that's when Flight 93 would have been arriving if that had been the target. It just happens to line up. That's circumstantial evidence. It's not proof or anything. But they said a 50-story building fell that morning, but there's so much smoke and everything in the area, they couldn't tell. They said, oh, just the firemen reported that. Well, you can't just report like a giant building falling way before it happened. Then around 5:20 or so in the afternoon, they jumped script again and said that the Salomon Brothers building had fallen, and it hadn't. But there were the excuse, I'll give devil's advocate here. The excuse was a lot of the firemen and everything because the whole south side of the building was on fire. The corner of the foundation had already fallen way earlier in the day, and it was unsalvageable. And so a lot of firemen and stuff were like, that building's gone, which is just New York hyperbole. You see how Trump talks, everything's tremendous and huge and great and what, and they say like the way they talk up there is like, that's done, that's gone, past tense, even though it's still presently burning. So media would pick that up and go, oh, they just said that building is gone. What they mean by the
Okay.
building's gone means it's gonna be gone and it's inevitable that it's gonna fall. That's what they meant by it. And that you can ask the firemen themselves say, yeah, I said that. All of us agree that that building was gonna fall. So none of them were surprised. But it fell because they allowed, it may have had secondary explosives, but also they let it burn for 8 hours. And that's what buildings do when it had another building fall on top of it. And if you don't fight fires, they burn until they fall. That's what happens. And no, that was not the only building. People keep saying no building ever fell from fire. That is totally false. It happened before and after 9/11. That doesn't mean that's what happened, but you should never over exaggerate your argument. You know, it means that
Okay.
it can happen. All right, that was it for the callers. We've got. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you still on?
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for your call. Thank you everybody that called in. You guys really make the show. 9/11, Epstein, and a couple trolls. I'm really appreciative of Mike Rivero, and I want to close this out by saying that me and my family really could use your support over on our site. I'm going to try and get a link on the top of whateallyhappened.com here shortly about how to donate and subscribe. You'll get a lot of great information, videos, podcasts, etc. Great guests. Like I said, Gellert Osmond's coming on. Guillermo Rudolph is coming on. A lot of great guests are coming on just this week. The big show with Sean Atwood on Saturday with Brand New Tube. So if I can stay in journalism and if I can get your support, I would appreciate it. I love doing this. I want to expose these neocons. We're just starting to get our wins. Weinstein's in jail. Ghislaine's in jail. We're going after them. We have a chance to pull on this thread and really unravel this massive pedophilia ring and beyond. There were body parts, not just prosthetic eyeballs and stuff. We want to get into the really dark stuff, the sacrifice children that happens in the UK and the US. We can get into that. We don't have time right now, but maybe if I'm here on Monday, we can kick it off with that. Depends how deep and dark you want to go. But I wanted to start off with some wins. I didn't get into something that happened in North Carolina. I'll try and squeeze in real quick. They said they passed reparations for slaves. It's not true. It wasn't North Carolina. It was just the city of Asheville. Asheville, by the way, never really had slaves. And the whole western half of North Carolina fought for the Union in the Civil War. The 18th Corps of North Carolina was actually the third largest division in the Union Army. They captured Wilmington, which was the largest city in North Carolina. The eastern part of Tennessee also remained in the Union, and West Virginia obviously became its own state. All of these places had slaves, by the way, but they fought for the North because the non-coastal areas and those areas not on the Mississippi were not greatly affected by the giant export tax and tariffs. And so they wanted to stay as part of the United States. South Carolina, the largest port city in the South, and all the coastal regions were devastated by the tariffs. That's what the Civil War was about. It was not about slavery. I hear the music. See you Monday, maybe. Peace.